It'll be online, and you're welcome, buddy. So this is just a very quick obligatory link dump for all you people who just want to like pop this open on your laptop and not pay attention to me because it's going to be really boring. I bet you're paying attention now, though. Oh, it's too bad. That doesn't show up very well. It's all right. Remember them from Total Recall? Yeah. Awesome. My name is Brian. I work at Nitobi Software and Vancouver, Canuckistan. And we do mostly JavaScript stuff, but we do other things too.
But losing the hockey.
Oh. Yeah, good run by the Detroit Red Wings, everybody. And we do have gold, so. Anyways, we're mostly a free software company, and that doesn't mean that we do our work for free, but we give a lot of it away. And I'm going to talk about some of that and a little bit about mobile JavaScript fun that we've run into. So, I just like this picture, there's no reason for it. Not really related to anything at all. So, I'm gonna talk about JavaScript tooling, PhoneGap. A question Paul Irish brought up to me a while ago on Twitter, and I've been meaning to actually do something about it, is to talk about when native, web, and hybrid make sense and why. Because it's a question that comes up a lot. And I was talk about cool shit that's going down along the way. So mobile JavaScript is a pretty big problem area right now, and I think John's talk really highlighted that. And rather than quantifying it with interesting charts, I'm just going to put a picture of toothpaste. JavaScript is like it's the Wild West. This is starting all over again, and we don't know a lot of information. It's good to see that some of it's starting to be published. When we first started doing PhoneGap development, we needed a JavaScript framework, and so we were loading jQuery onto these devices, and it wasn't really ready for it. So we created something called XUI. And XUI is a very small JavaScript framework, and it basically works a lot like jQuery. My buddy Rob Ellis, who worked at Nitobi at the time, got a Snuggie, sat down, and started writing JavaScript. And we extracted most of this stuff out. It was really cold, so if you wanted to have a Snuggie. Actually, we have like a really old office, and so it's either like really cold in the winter and really hot in the summer. And the Snuggie was the solution. So this is what XUI looks like. Can you guys read that decently well?
Yeah.
So the only difference really between XUI and jQuery is that XUI is 5 kilobytes and jQuery is 24 or so. And to be snarky dicks, we did $$ just because it's funny, not for any real technical reason. You could reassign it to $$ if you wanted to. Who here is familiar with jQuery and chaining? So that's who cares? One thing that's really different between the way you do things on a desktop and the way we do things in mobile is that there's a lot of different events. And the first thing we'll do when we're working with progressive enhancement techniques is we'll, attach functions to the click event. That seems to make sense, but the click event's actually delayed. And load is also a questionable technique. Touch start is what you want most of the time. Another problem though, not all mobile browsers implement all these events, and the ones that do implement it in different ways. Don't you love that the gag ball is a diamond? Amazing. But so on the A grade of browsers, there's iPhone, Android, and Palms. Devices, and pretty soon BlackBerry is going to be having a WebKit as well, and you'll get most of these events, and probably within a year or two they'll all work the same way. It's just something to be aware of. We have also a slightly different approach to animations. In XUI we use a library called Effects, which actually isn't a library at all. It's just a hacked up version of a meal that Joe McCann worked on and a bunch of other people, and it works quite well, and it's only a couple kilobytes. Saving on size isn't just so that your site downloads faster, it's also JavaScript initialization and execution time. And so the smaller that you can make all your frameworky code, the faster your app will be, and the more room you'll have to, write your fucking app, which is important. Loading a framework just to hide and show DOM elements is stupid. So there's a lot of other alternatives. You don't need to use XUI at all. A lot of people are standardizing on JQ Touch. It's really common. IUI is also really common. You could use Dash code if you wanted to, but it'll only work on an iPhone. Touch Scroll is pretty good. Glovebox is another one. iScroll. These are all Googleable, interesting things. And then, of course, we're going to have jQuery Mobile pretty soon. I thought it'd be funny if I had like a Game Boy Color instead of a Game Boy. Yeah.
It's funny.
Whatever. It's not that funny. People want to just see pictures of unicorns. So I'm going to totally kill the unicorn meme today. You can't see the horn, but he's creeping on you. So there's a couple other techniques that are becoming more common. One of the main things that we see is that we're writing single-page apps in mobile. They're kind of like widgets, essentially. And another technique that we're using a lot at Nitobi is lazy evaling. And this just means that we comment out JavaScript, and then when we need it, we fetch that DOM element, we remove the comments, and we eval it. That sounds like a total heresy. However, you don't have the initialization penalty. It's a lot faster, and the downloads are quicker too, so less latency. Another thing that we're doing is conditional builds for different devices. So some devices, like BlackBerry, we need to use Sizzle. On WebKit-based devices, we can get away with using Query Selector All. That's a difference of a lot of code. And so conditional builds come into play when we're working on mobile a lot. The next big part of mobile is that sometimes you're not online. Turns out. So we could use cookies. They work. You could store like 50K or something like that. So you can't really use cookies because they're useless. There's DOM storage, there's SQLite, and there's other kinds of hacks that are out there. These actually aren't really useful techniques though. DOM storage is kind of lame because it's just key value and it's strings, and we're mostly working with JSON. SQLite in a browser seems like it could be a problematic idea. I'm not sure how everyone here feels about it. I'd love to talk about it over beer. I think it's fucking stupid. So,
that's like a story.
Yeah, it may not go that way. So we wrote a library and gave it a funny name, Lawnchair. It's like an homage to Couch, except for it's smaller and it's outside. Lawnchair is just a document store, so you throw JSON documents at it. It's designed for mobile. We use it in all of our mobile projects at Nitobi. It's very simple API, like really light code, and we use the adapter pattern so that we can plug in different backend stores. So this is instantiating a Lawnchair. Can you guys read that? People equals new Lawnchair, then we pass in an adapter, no big deal. You remember the Simpsons episode? Saving a document, really simple. You've got this Lawnchair called people, you can save it. People save me. You can do an async callback, and you can specify your own keys. If you don't specify a key, I create a GUID. This could actually run into problems, and I'm considering changing it because a GUID is 16 characters, which is kind of large, and if you have a lot of rows, that's a lot of data that could be data instead of a key. We can get documents. You can iterate through all of them. I stole this last syntax from Dojo. It's a nice little shorthand syntax, and then we eval it out. So the bottom method is identical to the top one. Just kind of a cool, useful shortcut. It comes in handy. Typing function all the time gets sort of tedious. Removing documents is exactly the same. The only major difference is that we added a nuke method just for fun. Made testing easier, kills all the documents in the client. And basic iterators. And again, with the terse syntax of passing in. The Lawnchair is a cool project, and we use it quite a bit. And a couple of helper functions for finding documents when you need to iterate through them. So the first one would be a conditional, and the second one is a function to execute when the first one is true. Pretty simple. So PhoneGap. PhoneGap was created by this dude and one other guy. This is Brock Whitten, he now works at Joint. This is in the JSConf US. There's a theme here. So the purpose of PhoneGap is for PhoneGap to cease to exist. And this is somewhat of a problematic statement because why would you do something if you don't want it to exist? And the idea isn't that we want to do something for it to not exist. What we want to do is build native apps using web technology. And so we want the browser to become more of a first-class environment for doing software development. And that's the idea with PhoneGap. The initial release of PhoneGap, all we did was look at iPhone OS, but I mean, if you look at, these are all the devices that we're supporting right now. So you got iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, Symbian, WebOS,